So today we're going to talk 10x procurement, which we've been talking about all day, right? I have a great chance to moderate today, which is new for me and fun. But I've got a super cool gang. This is us that are talking with the SpendHQ guys, and we're going to talk about what 10x means to our companies, how we got there, and how we're using tech to do it. My name is Kathryn Thompson. I lead the procurement practice for Deloitte across EMEA, and I'm joined by, what order should we do it in? Külli, come on up. Fannie and Pierre. So what I think is interesting about DPW this year while we're doing 10x is, of course, anytime we have a multiplier, it depends on what the starting variable is. And what's going to be super cool about the next 30 minutes, 20 minutes, is we have 10x against a very established company, and then 10x what it looks like for a very fast-growing company, and then Pierre talking about how it works across. So let's talk about that. What does 10x look like for SHV and for procurement there?
Yeah. So being a huge company all over the globe and in diverse business, then to start with, we need to think through and establish what can we do together and what we should not want to do together, and the timing. So this is where it all starts. And when we talk about the technology is a great enable, but if you apply technology into a structure which does not fit, then it also doesn't help. Yeah. So exponential improvement for us means understanding where we focus, where we really cooperate as one procurement, and then in that area that we create a closed value loop. So I don't know whether audience here knows what a closed value loop is, but in a few words, that the organization, the people, and the technology are working together, not only end-to-end, but as a circle, so that the improvement, what gets out after one round, goes as input into the second round. And through that, through this closed value loop from analytics, visibility, compliance to the contract, etc., that it gets a spiral to the top. This is what it means for us. And it is, of course, a journey, and we come to that as well.
But procurement's part of every part of the closed loop for you.
Procurement, yes, I'm talking here about the procurement closed value loop, which obviously touches the processes, people and organization in different parts. But indeed, it's kind of our closed value loop from the data, from the visibility, from the opportunity identification, then doing something meaningful with it, with establishing new arrangements, finding new, better suppliers, etc. But all the time having, of course, this the technology basis to carry that closed value loop, and also then technology as enable to have that really closed and to fit together as well.
Which we will dive into more after. But Fannie, 10x, what does it
10x
like?
for Airbnb, what does it mean? And how procurement fits in all of that. So I guess, first of all, we need to go back in history. 10x is deeply rooted in Airbnb history. Airbnb was founded by two designers. And the story is quite, they had a simple problem to solve. Not simple, but their problem was they needed to pay their rent. And these two designers, they had space to share, and they hosted their first three guests, Michael, Amol, and Kat. And so it was 2 + 3, 5 people, right? And here is Airbnb. And so from there, what happened? Millions of guests and hosts since have signed on the platform. We have now, I believe, we had almost 1 billion guests on Airbnb platform, more than 400 million hosts. So talking about 10x, that's what it is. Now, how procurement fits into all of that? So I joined Airbnb, and I should have mentioned that earlier on. I joined Airbnb in the midst of the pandemic, right at the time of office closure. And needless to say, it's been a very interesting time. And it was also a few months before Airbnb initial public offering, when travel came to a full halt. Okay? So just picture that. So here we are, and I'm thinking, well, I have this organization in procurement which is super reactive. I mean, basically totally on the sideline of the business. And so my first, and we'll explain on the how later in this conversation, but the first step for me was, how do I bring this organization from being super reactive to proactive? I mean, it's very cliche, but that was the first step. Fast forward. Now, Airbnb, where are we? Well, we've moved past that. We had significant growth. We did our IPO. It was very successful. And now we are expanding beyond the core. And the core for us is accommodation, what you all know. What does it mean for us to expand beyond the core? It's three things. We need to optimize our product. We are also looking at launching new services and experiences. So, for example, when you check in your Airbnb, you could have your fridge stock up. You could have a chauffeur service, all this stuff. So we follow you during your entire travel journey. And then we launched a bunch of new experiences. You may have heard about our celebrity experiences with things like private concert with Dojo Cat, no shame, but Pierre didn't know who it was, so it's mainly more for Gen Z here. We are no longer Gen Z, sorry. But we also, so we did a bunch of cool stuff. We had a Barbie house, some of you may know that. So, and then the third one is expanding internationally. So yes, Airbnb is global. We are in 220 countries. That said, we have a very large concentration across 5 markets, France, Australia, Canada, the US, and the UK. And we need to look in countries where we have low penetration. So now, what does it mean for procurement? Well, we are proactive. Well, good and great. But it's not enough. It's not enough because we need to bring it to the next level, which is for us to become a predictive organization. And predictive for us means being ahead of Airbnb business needs, right? And so an example I can think of, we are onboarding a ton of new talents. And so think of, let's say, a celebrity chef, 3 stars Michelin. You're not going to ask this individual to be onboarded to your supplier onboarding form. I mean, they're going to literally vomit at you. Or, I mean, you can say, oh, yeah, well, let's go through our managed service provider and so on. These solutions don't work. And so, yes, we need to look into solution within the parameters of the law, of course, but we need to think of how we can become more agile in onboarding this type of resources. So that's an example of what predictive means for us. But so in conclusion, it's really this journey on how we took a very reactive organization and then moving forward to a predictive organization.
So Pierre, you're working with all these guys and lots of other clients, as you said. What does 10 times look like across the board?
So we're fortunate we're working with north of 500 clients all over the world. So we get a pretty good understanding of what these people are up to. And what we have seen historically is that when procurement achieves 10x return is when they break out of the boundaries of procurement, when they do things that they are not expected to do. And what's interesting is how do they get there, but we'll also cover that later. But it's generally, how do you bring new solutions where you are not expected? It's how do you help marketing generate a lot more impact with the same budget that was initially allocated? It's how do you bring outside innovation from suppliers, because you've done your job, you've gone out of the office, out of the building, and met with the marketplace. So these things are really critical, and the only way procurement can put themselves in a position to deliver that to the organization is by being organized on the inside. That's data, that's processes, that tool, that's all these things we talk a lot about here. But it's also getting the skills and the attitude. You need entrepreneurs, and one of the common themes we've discussed in the past few days is take risks, be ready to fail. Be ready to fail and to succeed too. Learn from your mistakes so that you can get to these results. You will never get 10x for the first time and not the second, and it will take 5, 10 goes to actually generate these results. So that's probably what we're seeing the most is those, bold procurement people.
Excellent at failing. We have done. We've all done it. Yeah, but this is how we move forward. And how have you done that then at SHV? Let's. go into some hows, practical tips for.
Yes. So as said, so we are very diverse and huge. So our biggest daughter companies are both 7 billion euro companies. So one is LPG distribution, other is animal nutrition now. It can't be more different, right? And then the third biggest is in certification and inspection. So really looking into what creates value from procurement for these companies, which can be slightly different, though the core is the same. Really, understanding your data, understanding your opportunities, like Pierre said. Taking the extra step or the next step in bringing in supplier innovation. So this is similar. However, the heritage is different, and the maturity is different, and it is for us very important to understand where each company is. What is the capability? If you are in the middle of the journey. Then you cannot compare yourself to somebody who is just in the beginning of the journey. And we have them. We have our certification company in the beginning of the journey, an LPG company in the middle of the journey. So we need to understand that. And then what we did, as an example, together with digital procurement organization and Deloitte, we brought these people together. Procurement, also IT, and some people from finance. And as a result of this exercise, what do you think? Did they, these different functions and different people from different organizations, did they agree with each other about the roadmap or not? What do you think?
They did.
They did.
Nice.
They did.
That's good.
That was really amazing. They did agree about the roadmap, recognizing that, okay, we are in this place, but and you are on that place. But in essence, the kind of roadmap is the same. Maybe the sequence is different. Maybe the speed is different. And then when we take it to the bigger organization, so to the leadership of these daughter companies, to finance, then it becomes difficult. Then they say, how come, right? But the core team, and I think the core team came together in understanding. And I think this leads me also to emphasize the importance of change management. Because it is huge change, because it touches so many places in the organization, that change management almost needs to be a separate kind of work stream, if you like, in such a journey. You cannot underestimate it. And that also brings me to the point of which people do you then need in procurement. Of course, ideally, you have the sheep with 5 legs. But if you can't find the sheep with 5 legs, then maybe in such a journey, the change management leadership, and in our environment where we are so diverse and where we really need a lot of influencing, you need diplomats. So to say, you need change management people, you need diplomats, you need people who understand the data, who also have the intellectual capacity to understand the entire picture. And whether they know procurement very well, it's a bonus, I would say. And procurement is, you can say it's a knowledge. It's a knowledge. And knowledge you can acquire. But to change the attitude, and to be a change leader, I think it's a more difficult one. So these are some elements what we discovered in our journey so far.
At Airbnb, you have diplomats or procurement subject matter experts. How are you playing into making
So
it 10x?
how did we do it, right?
Yeah.
Well, nothing earth-shattering, but maybe starting with where we were. So it was pre-IPO when I joined. And how did we do procurement at that time? On a spreadsheet. It would have been one spreadsheet, I would have been somewhat okay, but it was dozens of them. And so the urgency was real. I mean, we had an IPO, we couldn't do procurement on a spreadsheet. So I had to build a house, right? And literally start with a foundation. And when you say foundation in procurement, you think policies, compliance. If I had named these words at Airbnb, the door was right open for me. That was not an option. Why? Because I needed to understand the culture. And we were a startup. So it was really finding a balance between how do you implement guardrails at first and not becoming too bureaucratic. So that was step one. Step two, we had to accelerate category management. It seems cliche, but we had none of it. And the solution was I needed money. I needed to invest. I had a team, but I was not enough. So I went to my CFO and I pitched the idea. And I think I was hired because I'm a disruptor. I love to build. And I pitched it. I said, look, give me money, give me $1 million, I'll give you back 10. And it's going to be super fast. And I did it. And so following that, the third step was we needed tools. I'm not going to speak about ERP. That's not the topic. And I have a very strong opinion about ERPs, and I will spare it. But I wanted to have some kind of emerging tools. Why I like emerging tools? It's because, A, you can influence the roadmap. It gives you a ton of flexibility. And guess what? They're not expensive. And you can really, I mean, you're so cheap. So you can bring efficiency very quickly, right? And so we onboarded people like Pierre Angusta. You probably don't know Pierre Angusta. It's the company Pierre founded, and that then got acquired by SpendHQ. We onboarded Ramp for business travel, Zip. Well, Zip, I don't know their booth number, but just the anecdote allow me for a microsecond. Who are the Zip founders? Guess. Yes, there are two former Airbnb's employees who left the company and they were very frustrated by what? Procurement processes. Hello. That was before I joined, so no responsibility here. I fixed it since. So they left, they launched their company. These two guys have nothing to do with procurement. I think they were in product, if I'm correct, or engineers, I don't know.
The best product.
And they have a wonderful product. Why? Because they got what wasn't working for procurement. So anyway, emerging tools, it had helped us tremendously. And then the last one is something very, very dear to my heart, branding. Procurement, I think we are, I'm trying to find a political word, embarrassing. When it comes to branding, we don't know how to market ourselves. And when you join a company like Airbnb, which is a tech company, a design company, you can't come back with, let me share with you my 25-slide PowerPoint, and I'm going to explain you the tool, right? By the way, if you have a 25-slide PowerPoint for a tool, it means your tool is a failure. But that aside, we thought about how could I infuse some of this creativity and design into the procurement branding, and so we done a ton in that space, creating very sleek intranet, and it was really the look and feel of Airbnb, and so that helped us a lot to change the perception of procurement. And also because we embrace the company values and cultures and creativity.
So we get a bit close on time. I think, should we talk a bit on how SHV have used technology to renovate what you're doing there? Or?
Yeah. So really, first step, I said, looking into what can we do and what is meaningful at this stage. So what can we do, as we say, across our daughter companies and to get the optimal impact, and what can we do in a company itself? So getting the people together across the SHV, across our daughter companies, which we love to call the procurement community. Creating the common purpose for procurement and the common roadmap, as already said. And then picking the right technology. And we were previously also talking, and you said, you get the suppliers you deserve. And I think we do. And what we value very much in our suppliers is that they need to be flexible, and they need to embrace our difficult journey, and they need to love it. Because if they hate it, then it doesn't work. It is already difficult. The ambition is high. The journey is not easy, but it has to be fun a bit. So you need really to have partners who see the value, who see the spark in that journey, and who help you when you fall. You say, you fall? Yes, we fall. But then you help us to get up, and get up better, and get up stronger. So that kind of mindset is very, very important. Yeah. And then, of course, the solution itself. So, I dare to say that, there are very many similar solutions. Maybe there are unique elements, but, you can go a bit left, a bit right. But then you need to see what is on the right scale, what suits for you at that specific stage, and the right mindset from the supplier, as said. So these are for me the key elements, and so we have SpendHQ, we have some other suppliers as well, bigger and smaller. But I think in general, the smaller are more flexible.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
And so Pierre, having seen all these different companies, what's the special magic sauce for 10x technology procurement?
It's not standing in the way of procurement success. Is how do you get your data foundation right? How do you get the visibility on spend, supplier, risk, all that in one place? Your buyers are better off talking to your stakeholders or your suppliers. They don't have to be in tools. And be like a sales organization. I mean, sales organizations have Salesforce. They drive their pipeline. They measure their efficiency, their performance. Be like that. Don't do that in Excel. Because to Fannie's point, how do you look when you tell your CFO, hey, that's what we're doing for you, for the organization, in Excel? You need the proper tool that can connect to your resourcing tool, to your risk package tool, so all these things. And by not standing in the way, by enabling procurement rather than hindering it, that's how you can unleash the energy, the creativity from the teams. And that's how you get to know the business and know what actually matters to them, what matters to the company. We don't care about savings. We're just buying room for maneuvering to the business.
That's the minimum base.
And then 10x is a minimum. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.